So one of the last things we're going to do is create a drawing for all of our handrail details. So I'm going to take my L5 drawing and I'm going to copy it, just because a lot of the information that's there is what I'm going to be using, and it will be called L6. So I'll take this drawing and rename the tab that's at the bottom to L6. And I'm going to move it ahead of L5 just so that I have the drawing order at my disposal at the bottom as well. Now L6 and L5 look exactly the same because it's an image of the same item. So I don't need any of the internal components right now, so I will move them. But before I move them, I'm going to switch to make my viewport active so they actually move with the drawing. And I will move all of the internal components over from one side here to the right of it. And now I have a blank canvas in which I can do the final series of drawings, which is my stair, or I should say my handrail detail. So in here, all we're going to do is insert the PDF files that relate to the project. So in your SB7 documentation, I've already made that information available to you. I'm going to insert all of the SB7 documents that I require in order to fulfill this particular requirement. So I'll go into Insert, and here it is a PDF underlay, and it's in our week 5 folder. There is the exterior guard detail, and when I click on it and open it, it shows every single page that's there. Well, what we want to do is make sure that we know the documentation that we require for this. I've happened to go through this already, and I'm familiar with the page numbering. Hopefully it's exactly the same as what's shown here. It might be off by 1, only because page 1 is actually the title page. So I'm going to go here and select OK, and there is my 8.5 by 11 document. And I can select the scale right here. I'm going to just type in 1 and enter for the scale. And there is my EB1 document. So that's 8.5 by 11 on 11 by 17 sheet of paper. It's a bit big. So I'm going to scale that down. I'm going to select it and just go back to the home menu and select scale. And let's see what will work well here. I think about 0.75, 3/4 of the size may work. Can I fit all 3 in there? Might be a bit tight to fit all 3 in this particular window, so let's see if I can scale it down even more. And of course, after I do this, I'll plot it out to see if it's legible. That's really what's important, is that it is in fact legible. So here I will go back to my home menu and select the item and reduce it by another 75%, so 0.7 or 25%, sorry. So it scales down, and I'll pick that as my base point, 0.75, and that will allow me to fit 3 documents side by each. So there's the EBA document or the handrail document. So I'm going to, well, I'll position them later. I'll get the other 3 in there first, or the other 2 in there first. So I'll insert, and it's another underlay, PDF underlay, go into the SB7 document. There we go. Select open. This is on page 14, which I believe is now 13. That's the one I'm looking for. And I'll place it beside that as well. Now this time I'm going to use scale in a different way, just because it gives us an opportunity to review some of this work. I'm going to scale the document from the base point. We've done this several times. Type in REF, and I want from the base point to the upper part of the document to match that document. There we go. And then I'll select the 3rd documentation that I want to use here, and that is on page 19, which is actually 18. Insert. So another PDF underlay. Here we go. PDF underlay. There's the SB7 documentation. So I had page 20 here, which means actually it's 19. Select it, insert it. Now I'll make it slightly smaller this time. There we go. And then use the insert command, or the scale command once again. So I'll select Home, Scale, select the file, Position, and I'll use the reference command, so I want that from there to there to equal that. And there are the three documents that I want to use to support how I'm going to be putting in the handrail. Now notice I've selected them so they actually work together very well. So now I can put in all my titling in here. I will move these three documents so that they're positioned closer to the top, and I'm going to use the nearest option here. There we go. That gives me enough room to be able to view it, and I will copy my information here. I will use title bubbles once again, and this time I'm going to change the information on here. This is L6. And what's different here is for scale, I'm going to put in here, not to scale, because there really is no scale for this. And I should use capitals, not to scale. And this is the top plan when you're looking at the different documentation here. If I zoom in on it, you should be able to see it a bit better. So let me move in on that. So this is the exterior connection top rail nailed to post detail. I will just confirm what I've got there just by saying top rail, and I'll mention that it is A1. And now that I've got all this, let me just change the length of this because it's a bit long. I'll select nearest here. Let's make it there. Good. Now I can copy this information from here to there to there. So it's all positioned exactly where I want it to be. This will be number 2. And this will be number 3. And now I can simply change the information that's in here. This is the exterior connection post nailed to rim joist. So the post connection, and it is EB1, and you can see just because I wrote more, this line is now short. And I will put on my F8 key. Nice horizontal. Good. And pan over. This is 3. That's kind of nice the way it worked out. I'm not too sure I was 3 already, but that's okay. And this is my picket detail. So here we have exterior connection, infill picket. So I will use the same language. It is the infill picket detail. It's long, but it fits, so I'm okay with that. And this is EC1. EC1. And once again, I'll extend that out. There we go. I really don't need a lot more information than this. This all comes from the Ontario Building Code, so I don't need anything like that. I just need these references to know where they are. This is 1L6, 2L6, and 3L6, and I'll make sure that I've written that down so that we can then refer to it on our first drawings to show where exactly that detail is. That's all there is to it. Now this is something you're going to be using over and over again in different applications, different documentation. So understanding this technique of installing a PDF file is really important because it is something that you will commonly use, especially when you start doing larger landscape drawings where you need to refer to silt fencing or proper recommended installation of trees, especially any projects for the city or anything like that. They already have a surmountable amount of PDF files that are ready for insertion that you need to use. But if you use their information, it's quick and easy and done. So what I've done is I've printed off in a small black and white copy all my drawings and have noted by hand where all the reference bubbles needs to go. And this is the last step that we need to do in order to finish this particular project. So I have a handrail detail that's going to go along there, and I got to make a reference to it. I'm in the title block layer, and that's fine. I'm going to create a rectangle, and I'm not going to use some of the information that's there. I'm just going to point out that the handrail is going to go right down here. Now, it's not in the right line type, so what I want to do is match an existing line type, and I can use the option here that allows me to match property. Select my rectangle that I just drew and click on the I'm going to use the match property, so I click on the rectangle that I have already in reserve here, and then I'll click on the rectangle that I just drew, and I'll match the properties of that. Now I need my reference bubble, so I have all sorts of different reference bubbles here. I can copy this. So these are all done from previous drawings, and that's why it's handy to have them in the sidelines so that I don't have to go and redraw them all. I can just position them as I see fit, and then just change the information. So my handrail information is on 1L6, so here I'll change this to 1, and you can see I had architecture drawings I was using before, so these are now landscape drawings, and that's going to refer to my actual handrail detail that I just did in the previous video. I also have the detail for my planter, my fixed planter, so I'll draw a hidden line around that. And I'm going to use a polyline this time, and I'm going to draw something that more or less reflects the line that I used before, just like that. Now I'm pretty good at eyeballing stuff like that. You may want to use the rectangle command and then rotate it so that it's more suitable for a precise drawing. And once again, I'm going to use the match properties. In the match properties, I'm going to select the source and then go to my destination. And in here, this refers to 2L5, so I'm going to copy this information, just slide it over. And I like to make sure that that one's perfectly straight, so using my F8, there we go. Change that position from its existing node. This time I can use its nearest. And this location is my 2L5. And if you take a look at my 2L5, that's where you actually see the deck boards. My 1L5, you see the framing. So it's going to be on the next drawing. There we have it, and I'm pretty happy with what I've got here. Some of this information is repeated, only the reference information has changed. So the easiest way to do this is select Edit, Copy with Base Point. I can either try to use the drawing, if I've laid out the drawing perfectly one on top of the other, or part of the building component, and I'm going to make sure I've got this and this if I need it. I'm not sure if I do or not. This and this information. And since I'm going to be pasting in and editing in, I want to paste it to the original coordinates as a block. I will paste it so that I can edit it. So edit, paste. See, I won't use the paste this block. I'll simply use the paste option. And where's my reference point? Looks like it was the corner of the building here. And there's a bit of interference. I already have this detail, so that one came down here. I don't need the one I just copied and pasted. And I'm going to move this so it doesn't interfere with some of my dimensional information. So I'll take off my F8. Yeah, look at that. Fits nicely and neatly in there. Well, this time, this is no longer 2L5, this is 1L5. So I'll actually show the framing plan of that detail. This, in this particular one, it's still 1L3. Just going through my paperwork here. Yep, and in here, this will change now. This will become 2L6 here. So that will change to 2. And by using that copy and paste technique, my reference boxes are exactly the same size. My reference information is exactly the same size. All I need to do is edit that. And it's a very quick and easy edit to do that and put that information in accordingly. So all the other drawings, you have to go through them to make sure you do have all the references. So, oh, I forgot to delete one more thing. And now I'm going to look at each page, make sure that information is up to date. Do I have all my references? It looks like I do. Are all the boxes drawn correctly? Do they align the way they're supposed to align? Look like they do. And it's hard to see at this point, but sometimes you have to print this off to actually look at it. 4L4 is that good. It doesn't include the detail of the end cut. The end cut is over here. Great. That all looks good. 5, this one was done. It's a very straightforward, simple drawing. Now see this sectional reference here? I want to put it on this drawing. I don't want it on the first drawing. So there's the framing plan. There's the deck view plan. If I go to the first drawing, I don't want to draw the section through here. It may actually interfere with all of the work. Here it's not so bad, but if I go to L2, look at the clutter that I have here. So I don't want that sectional reference here. It's better to have it on another page to refer to that information. And there is this drawing. Now, all of this I don't need. So I can delete all that. The drawings are going to stay because they were in viewports. So anytime you want to delete information, you must include the viewport layer to get rid of it, to be able to make sure that it is gone as well. And now I can turn off the viewport layers. And my drawings are done. The date is very important that we get corrected. So I'm going to show you something here. It's a technique you should use on all the drawings, just because it's something that when you update one, it updates them all. And so it's a very good technique to use. I'll show you how it works. There we go. So this first one is the due date of the project, which is December 14th. So whatever the information is in this title block, if it's repeated, we'd select all of those items. But here I'm going to select Edit, Copy with Base Point, and there's my base point. Here's my information. Good, and your selection. Now I'm going to go into L2, Edit, Paste as Block. This is important. Pasting as block technique allows you to take something, as in this case, that's repeated throughout the drawing, and by pasting it as a block, it gives us some unique property that you can see momentarily. So I'm pasting it as a block in each one of these different tabs. And so here's where it becomes very efficient. Since I've copied and pasted that block into each of these pages, if I notice an error or a mistake, I can edit it very quickly. And I noticed here that I don't like the way I didn't gap this properly, didn't leave enough space to it. So if I click on this and right click on it and select Edit Block or Edit Block in place, it'll ask me if I want to edit this. And there's a very particular way that it notes what these blocks are by naming it internally into the file. And I'll pick the right one just by selecting it. I'll click on OK. And now you can see this is all ghosted out except for this information. So I can now go in here like text. I'm going to double click on the information, and I want a space after the 14 and after the 2020, and a space there. And then there's too many spaces, so I may want to close that up a bit, make that look kind of nice and neat. Or I want to change that to December. Whatever changes you want to make here. If it's the wrong date, for instance, I can easily go in here and just change the date to this information. Now you can see that you're still in the block editor. If I right-click on the information and then close the redefinition session here, I'm going to save it. Don't discard it, but save it. It's going to ask me that this reference is to be saved, and select OK. And there's the new information, December 15th, 2020. So how has that changed? Well, anywhere where I inserted that block, it has also changed. So on this page it's changed, and the next one, and the next one. And where this becomes beneficial is when you're applying for a permit and it doesn't get accepted the first time and it requires revisions. You can change this and revise all the drawings. Now the only one that doesn't get revised is the original one that you put it in, because this is what we turned into a block. So I'm going to manually change that one. Had I made this information off to the side and then inserted it in this location, it would also be updated. So it's just another technique on how to create all these different wonderful things to help you become efficient with CAD. Well, I hope you really enjoyed the program. We've now concluded everything. Put this all together, make sure the references are in place, and submit this as a single PDF batch plot. I'll also be requesting your DWG drawings to go along with this. Submit the two files together, name them properly, use the appropriate naming convention that we've developed for the program. And that's it. Well, good luck to you in completing this. Everybody's done very well. Thank you very much for your attention, and we'll see you in the next program.